Good morning and welcome to the Not on My Watch show. I'm Dr. Baruch, dressed in my suit here. Some of y'all look at this and be like, Doc is doing his show from the joint. Nope, I'm not doing my joint from the show or the show from the joint. But there you go. There you go. I'm joined in the studio today with brother who you all have seen recently. We had him in and we interviewed him, Brother Irritated Genie. What's up, bro?
Doing fantastic, my brother. How you doing?
Great. That's what's up. And we have a new guest who's come to us from Ferguson. Now, Ferguson got on the map a couple years ago, but we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. We've got our brother Kevin Christopher Seltzer. Full name, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to give it all to you.
Yeah.
Kevin Christopher Seltzer. And we're going to dive in. But first, before we dive in and talk to our brother Kevin, I just wanted to, kind of get a background story from our brother Irritated Genie. Talk to me, brother. You suggested that we have our brother on, and I just wanted to get your take on and your feel and what it is that, you know of and what we can expect out of our interview with brother Kevin.
Absolutely. First of all, appreciate you for opening the air to our people so we can really get these messages out. We had the whole Mike Brown situation that happened a few years ago, and it's been ongoing. And very recently, a friend of mine named Darren Seals was murdered because he was speaking out against the corruption of Black Lives Matter, the money that's been stolen from the people in the community that's supposed to be getting that money to fight police brutality and terrorism, and given to others who are taking that money. So what people didn't know, and I didn't know until after that, I went out there on the ground with some folks to try to investigate the murder of our brother and figure out what happened and why. And what we found is that there are a lot of brothers and sisters, or some, I should say some, who are on the ground. And ever since the Mike Brown situation, have been fighting. And these are everyday people who are doing heroic and incredible things that are really almost something like out of a movie. And I had some contact with the brother. He reached out, seeing some of the work we were doing. And when we got out there on the ground, we were able to make touch base with him and meet him face to face. And the video he took of what happened and occurred right when Mike Brown got murdered. I'm talking about going outside and actually interviewing people in the neighborhood who witnessed it. I didn't even know anybody witnessed it. But to hear the interviews of the actual people who were standing there that watched, it's a totally different narrative than the media's been giving us. And then everything that he's been through since, from life assassination attempts, from offers to get homes, if he'll go out and change the narrative to tell the people to stop being aggressive, is one of the most incredible stories of any real person that really cares about the community that I've ever heard. So the last thing I say, this young man on a daily basis is outside with the children in the neighborhood, teaching them, educating them, even had them on our radio program impromptu this Monday night. So he was coming out here to do some things he'll tell you about, and we just thought it's so important. This is one of the most real, true narratives of a real black man who cares about his race in this modern time, who, if places like yours don't hear his story, we won't hear the real narrative of the freedom fighters.
That's what's up. And that's what we do here at the Not on My Watch show. The Not on My Watch show is dedicated to bring attention to, Not on My Watch can be taken several ways. One, Not on My Watch is, you ain't gonna do that crap on my watch.
Yes, sir.
That ain't gonna happen on my watch. The other side of it is, this isn't gonna be going down without us doing everything we can to let everybody know about it. And so we take both lines and we bring them together and bring attention to them. So, brother Kevin, is it Chris you would prefer?
You can call me Chris. I prefer Chris.
Brother Chris, all right. And give us some background. Who are you? Who's brother Chris?
Well, I started out in Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
I
You were born in Ferguson?
No. I started out in St. Louis City. I
Okay.
was born in the city, grew up on the south side, grew up on the north side.
What was life like?
To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I come from pimps, hustlers, a lot of black pride, but a misconception of what black pride was.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew that I was different, but I didn't understand in what sense when it came to, I fit that description of a young black thug that they try to paint.
Right.
And they always tried to paint me in that image. But I never felt like I fitted in right there. So, it was a struggle of finding my own identity and being an individual.
Right.
In the midst of that, I seen a lot of police interaction, a lot of police brutality. I won't say I was a victim of police brutality in a sense of, you know, as the extreme of being hospitalized, but you know, as a black male, anybody that's real can relate to being smacked around. I'd have been picked up, whooped, and dropped off, told to make it back home. So, you know, going through that, I knew it had to be something more for you to, you know, develop in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I just spent my time coming up trying to understand more about my blackness.
Right. Right. And as you are understanding more about your blackness and you're growing up, at what point during that transition to understanding your blackness did you have the, you know, the Ferguson explosion that we hear so much about in the news? Was that after, before,
no,
or was that the cause?
It was the cause. Before Mike Brown, I was a regular dude. I had a simple little small little core wash thing I was doing myself trying to get started, and it turned into an all-out movement where it was like after Mike died, I spent so much time with out there on the scene, listening to his mother and you know, seeing the environment to where I just couldn't go back in the house and sit back down and be the same Chris that it was. Like, that day changed my entire look at life. And I haven't stopped since then, and I'm not going to stop.
So you knew Mike Brown?
I knew him passing through the neighborhood and the community. Like, we just had basic conversation. I didn't hang out with him. We weren't buddies. But I knew that he didn't deserve to be murdered in the street like that. So...
Right. And you were there the day that he was murdered?
Yes, I was there.
And you captured it on video?
I captured the aftermath of the shooting. When he was actually physically being shot, I was laying on the floor because it was just that close to my house.
Tell me about that experience. What is it like? Is that a typical day in St. Louis, Ferguson?
No, not in my particular area in Ferguson. There's outside crime, but in the community that we were in Canfield, that was more like a starter community, I would say, where it was more young people, you know, single couple. Well, you had young couples just getting started, trying to get off. A lot of people worked. You know, they try to make it like it was a heavy drug infested area. It wasn't. Like, we were all shocked. I think that was the biggest thing. The nature of what had just taken place, it didn't fit where we were.
Right. Right. And when you were, of course, there to engage the aftermath or participate in the aftermath, you know, what did you see yourself doing? So now this is a pivotal point in your life.
It was, I have to say, when I was recording, I wish I could be some superhero and be like, I knew I had to record this because it was going to be hit. I was in shock. Like, I couldn't really grip what had happened. I wasn't directly recording on purpose. I had cut my iPad on. Like, I would see something and try to record, but it would be so intense to where I just dropped, you know, I just dropped down, but I didn't cut the camera off.
Right.
It's just like, I can't focus on this. I can't really, like, zoom in on this. So it was a lot of consciousness going on at the time.
And the demonstrations that took place there afterwards, you know, we got our view that CNN and NBC wanted us to see. For those of us who couldn't be there on the ground, you know, what is it that was taking place on the ground?
For me, I didn't too much engage in West Florissant because I lived in the community where they killed Mike, and there was a lot of devastation. We were victimized by the police. We were victimized by the media. We were victimized by the people protesting. I have a new respect when I say community. I really know what it means to say community in a sense of I understand both sides of being in a environment where there's something that's taking place and you don't have any control over it, but you're subject to it.
Sure.
You can't. I live here. You protest and go home, I'm still here. So instead of being like, after that first day of seeing the police come in and people come in and everything, I just couldn't sit back. So me and a man named David Witt and David Royal, we developed something called the Canfield Watchman, where we started like watching our community. We were watching the police. We were watching the people coming in and out because the traffic had picked up dramatically. So we started really trying to figure out how to get back the control of our community, and we developed the Canfield Watchman, which later developed into Cop Watch, where we would go out on a daily basis and monitor the police interaction in our community. We took it a step further and we developed something called Know Your Rights, where we informed and empowered our community to understand your rights when you're dealing with the police. And it sparked, it took off to where it was effective and people were actually gaining from it to, you know, get a sense of self back, because they killed Mike, but then they killed our community at the same time. And there was no, we were all screaming justice for Mike, but for me personally, I wanted justice for myself. I wanted justice for the old lady upstairs that couldn't really voice what she was feeling. I wanted justice for those little kids. Like, I don't even know what justice looked like anymore. We 2 years in, I'm still saying we want justice, and they're constantly killing us. So it's an ongoing battle. I'm just working to be as honest as I can in it and get out the real messages so people can see I'm a regular person. I engage in my community. I try to build my community, and that's what's going to make a difference.
Brother Irritated Genie, what drew you into this situation there in Ferguson?
I was drawn in because I had actually come out in July of 2014, right before the Mike Brown situation, and about a month before, and I'd done a lecture, and it went very well, and the brother who brought me was bringing me back in October to do, just so happens to be a genocide lecture. In August of that same year, Mike Brown had been murdered, and the weekend that they were supposed to be announcing the verdict of whether or not Darren Wilson would be tried, that they were going to announce it on Friday. I was scheduled to be doing a lecture on that Saturday. They literally changed it from giving it to Friday to Monday after we left. We found all this out afterwards. But basically what happened is they knew we were going to be in town, and a bunch of the black organizations, many who had bought tickets to come to the genocide lecture, didn't show up. What we found out was that they would get passing a lot of money, and basically the idea was that you're going to go with our narrative, this Black Lives Matter thing. And they were told that if any of you all, if you go to this lecture on genocide, you won't get your money. So we met the young brother Darren Seals there, and we told him, look, be very careful. The homosexuals will take over your movement, and they'll change the narrative from saving black lives and protecting black people from domestic terrorism at the hand of so-called law enforcement to let's promote some LGBT lifestyle or something like that. He left with that knowledge and information I shared with him in the lecture we did there. But I didn't realize at the time, he had told me he was the one that had started this movement. You know, me and some other guys, you meet a young brother, they tell you that. He took that narrative, in addition to the narrative of fighting police brutality, and started getting into it with guys. So they sent the guy DeRay McKesson. Many people know DeRay McKesson. Brother Darren, the one that got murdered eventually, haven't heard what we said, he ended up in a fight with this guy. He said, look, get out of my city. Y'all are taking the money and taking the focus away from what's really going on. Our people are being abused. And it was Brother Darren who would meet with brothers like Chris, who was behind the scene, Brother Darren in the front, and other brothers and sisters who were the real freedom fighters, who were saying, we want to open a community center. We want to do these things. And the money is coming in, but somehow the real people not getting a dollar of these millions of dollars. And so that's kind of what drew us into the whole thing. Our brother Darren Seals keeping us abreast, calling in our radio station saying, Jeannie, this is what's going on out here. And I'm gonna be honest, I told him it would happen, but it's one thing to predict. It's another thing when someone who's really there is telling you names of people that you've never heard of. Who is DeRay McKesson? Who is this person and that person? And this is what they're doing. And this is how money is coming in. And there's this organization called, what's it called? Pink Out or Out Pink, something like that. And they're giving you the names of organizations that are sending money in. And the money is supposed to be earmarked for helping the communities rebuild themselves. When we're getting stories from people on the ground that are saying the black stores that were burned down were not burned down by black rioters.
It wasn't burned down by Ferguson residents. After Mike was killed, the city came out, which we appreciate that. Like the north side, the south side, they came out in support, and then all these other people showed up. Like they were busing people into our community. Like no joke, like they were literally busing people in to our community.
And
They, white people, people with money, somebody, whoever had enough money to buy a bus, because we ain't had no bus money. They were busing people into our communities, and we were now forced to deal with the agitators, the people who were protesting about what they felt was wrong, the community in shock, and the police.
So the Brother Seal, you said that Brother Seal is no longer with us. What happened with him?
A few weeks ago, tragically, he was assassinated. They shot him in the head in the car and set his body on fire. In the car. And he is now the 6th person to meet that fate from Ferguson.
And who is they?
I actually have a list.
I mean, yeah, there's a list. Like, we haven't really narrowed down the actual factual facts, and I'm a person being in what I deal in facts, so I can't just pinpoint anybody, but I will say this: we know that it was a paid assassination through white money to black people, so we haven't pinpointed those white people, those black people, but we know enough to know that there has to be an investigation. This is not black on black crime. If you want to get technical, this is blue on black crime once again, because whoever did it, we know that they have ties in law enforcement. These are facts, and we know that they are being protected. These are facts. So we are up against a wicked system, and there's gonna be a continuous fight for justice for Darren Seal. We're gonna keep asking what happened to him until we get some realistic answers. Since when do you not, mark off a crime scene? They didn't even give this man enough respect to put up crime scene tape. But I guess I wouldn't investigate a murder if I did it either. So like, why waste the tape?
And I can honestly speak on being out there in the week after they murdered the young brother. And I can actually tell people, I'm not talking about speculation, this is from my personal experience. From my experience, St. Louis is a very different city. I haven't been to a place quite like that. When I say that, what I mean is the level of corruption in terms of you can get killed at any moment if you're, and I'm not talking about just a person walking down the street. We got to see that kind of violence in Chicago. It's a different type of violence. It's if you're a person who speaks up against financial corruption, against police brutality, against that part of the system, it's a very barbaric, almost gangster-like environment where the white money is tied into the homosexual agenda, which is tied into the police, which basically says if you're speaking out against any of those forces, they work together and they'll put a lot of money on the table, particularly for somebody in the neighborhood that doesn't have money, to get people killed. And unfortunately, from my experience of what I'm hearing and seeing on the ground, a lot of the young brothers in St. Louis is part of the culture for some of them, I should say, where that's how they make their money. There's a hit made on a black person, and it doesn't matter that that's a good black person that's good for our community. If the money is right, they'll go make the hit. But those hits that are being done, they get reported as black on black crime. It's not really black, because when you start investigating, there are cases that we know of where it's been proven that someone white came and paid for these things to happen. So we know that there are forces that are much more powerful forces that are in place. And it's so important. This is the part to me that really meant something. We've been talking about the homosexual agenda. And it's been real, but it's been more theory in the sense we know that they're trying to push it on our people. We can see that real. But to actually meet a young brother who talks about two things that we really believe is what led to ultimately saying he got to go. Of course, his police brutality fight was one thing. But the two things that finally made the decision to push the button, and this is my opinion, he's speaking out against the LGBT community taking over the narrative for black life. And two, he was talking about the money. How the money was being misused and abused, and the people who were getting the money and the people who were sending the money, and how that money was being misappropriated. He put out something on Facebook about the money, and 2 weeks after that,
he was gone.
He was taken away from us. I talked to him on the Friday or Saturday before, because I heard a young lady who had come out and started talking about what was going on in Ferguson with the money. And she was very compelling in her narrative. So I called him and said, "Do you know her?" He said, "I know her. She's one of me and her, the two most official people out here." That's the words that he told me. Mm-hmm. I said, "Contact her." And I told him then, I said, "Brother, I think it'll be very important because I've been trying to get him on our radio station." Mm-hmm. I said, "You need to get a tie-in with the community on a regular basis, because Darren Seal was the type of brother who would go through some tremendous ordeal, but when he explains it to you, he explains it so casually that you almost don't believe it. Mm. And then when you see the video, like he had gotten pulled over by the police, once I saw the video, when he told me, they pulled me over a couple of weeks ago, me and my brother in there, and they were going to kill us. But when you saw the video actually happened, it was far more intense than the way he described it. Sure. My point being, I knew him well enough to say, look, you really need to get into the people so that it's not an easy thing to do. Now, I did not anticipate anything like that, but that was literally the weekend before, and he reached out to the sister. I wanted to get both of them on there because I said the people who are speaking out in St. Louis, these are young black people who don't have any support system, just like any of the rest of us. They have families, they have issues they're dealing with, they need money to live. This young brother hasn't told this story, but he was living nice with his girlfriend in a nice apartment. After he started taking these videos, if you remember the one that came up with the white construction worker, this is the young brother that took that video. After this was done, he got people breaking in his home, assassination attempts. He had to leave. This brother was living for months at a time in his car, no place to stay. Tell him about when they offered you the house, how all that went down, and trying to get him to sell out his own people in Ferguson.
Okay, well, like he said, after the videos really hit the mainstream air, like CNN and things like that, threats came in. It went from people encouraging me to show the videos to now it's, Chris, you better stop showing the videos. Boy, you can't say certain things. And then it turned to violence. They shot in my house. I was able to move into a hotel for a little while, and then it was like people were giving them my locations. They kept finding me, so I just started gassing up cars, riding around all day, and I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I was actually feeding a community. Because they had tore up all the stores, I had got with a church, and they had a pantry, and we were taking food back and forth into the community. And on one of those trips, I got a call to come up to the Dalewood Center, which is in Ferguson, or right outside of Ferguson, to speak about what I was doing, the work I was doing in the community, and this and that, because they were saying, well, we can help you. We found some people who will help you. I go to the event, I speak. They raised money right there on the spot after I got done speaking. They stole that. It was called the love offering. The person that invited me took the love offering. The head pastor that gave me the love offering had called to see if I had got it. I informed her that I didn't receive it. We talked about it. Then she invited me to her home. When I got to her home, I kind of went a little bit more into my situation. As you can see, I'm not really big on me. I don't like talking about me. But so I explained a little bit about my situation. I was homeless. They were shooting at me. Things were intense. Her words were, well, baby, if they wanted you, they would have already got you. But she had just received, I guess, some kind of contract or whatever. She had a list full of houses, and she was like, well, here, you can have one, pick one. So at first I thought she was just talking, because by this time we got people coming in saying all this different stuff. So I picked out a house nonchalant, and after I picked the house, she took the paper away and she put another paper on the table, and she was like, how good are you at giving speeches? I was like, I do okay. People like to hear me talk. So she gave me a piece of paper. Well, at first she was asking me, would I go do a town hall meeting? Which for me, I didn't really think no biggie of it. Like, yeah, sure. So now it's, well, here, I got a speech for you. Can you read it? I'm downplaying it right now because I'm really there. Like, look, they shooting at me, my life on the line, help me. And she's like, oh, go do a town hall meeting. So I get the speech. I go to the event, and the whole conversation that she was having with me was, stop protesting. We need to love on the police and interact with the police. And I wasn't feeling that at the time. I just seen, like, I don't know what you saw, but what I just saw, I'm not trying to interact with them on no type of level until, one, they apologize. They never apologized to my community. Regardless of what took place, they never apologized to the people that were doing what we were supposed to do. And, we just got victimized. So she's telling me.
Can Can you summarize what that speech was? What were they?
The speech was basically about community coming together and trying to have better communication with the police in the sense of, you know, they have a job to do, and we need to, if we walk right, talk right, look white, they won't shoot us. So I didn't feel for, you know, I didn't believe in that, and I had took the speech. I had never actually opened the speech until I got to the location, and when I seen it, you know, it was in my son's neighborhood. These are my friends. You know, these are not like people I don't know. These are my friends on the streets, right. And I just cannot be the one to stand up there and sell out for a house.
Right.
So I just want to get. I mean, so you're saying you turned down getting a house
for my pride? Yes.
Because
for my
you
community,
didn't want to go up there and change the narrative and start telling your own people to lay their hands down, to lay their arms and their anger down, and to just accept what happened.
And just accept and abide and let them kill you. I will not do that. I still need a house. So I'm not gonna change my narrative.
Right. So tell me now, you know, you there on that front line. I think we're all on the front lines when you look at the reality that we all face on a daily basis as men of color, black men in America, or however we want to identify ourselves. You know, you look at it, what has been your conclusion with regard to what it is that needs to happen in order that we could begin to, one, recover and stop? So recover from this assault and at the same time stop the assault.
We need to mend the black homes first. Everybody, I've been working 2 years on.
Are you saying we need to put new doors and windows on the houses?
We need to respect our black women so they can respect themselves, so they can respect us first before we open our front door and say anything to anybody else.
As a point of clarity, I just want to make sure that I'm on the right page. The job then you're saying needs to be initiated by men, black men?
Black men and women. It's going to take both of us. It's going to take the men to say, look, I was wrong. I'm here to protect you, and I apologize. Sorry I was a coward. But you didn't encourage me to be a man. You told me I was less than a man after he told me I couldn't get hired. So it's, you know, I'm not here to point fingers because we both are broken. I'm 32. I didn't have any role models. My role models was the brick man. So you know. When
you say the brick man, what do you mean by that?
Meaning drug dealers were examples to me. I wanted to be a lawyer. They told me that wasn't realistic. So, you know, I had to really decide who I wanted to be versus who they said I could be.
Now, the programs that you're involved with now, because now we're talking, how long has it been since Mike Brown and Ferguson?
We're coming up on, well, about 2 years.
2 years. So 2 years. The second anniversary. 2 years since Mike Brown's assassination. What are we implementing now on the road to establishing what you're talking about? And who are we networking with so that we can manifest this reality in the minds of young black men, old, young, and wherever?
From what I'm saying, it's still just a conversation.
So nobody's doing anything.
People are talking it to get the funds, and the funds never reach the people that are on the ground in these communities that get the respect of the community. Like, when I say community, every neighborhood is a community. Like, your environment is yours to nurture and nature to make better. We need funding, though. You know,
so where would the funding come from?
The people.
What people?
America.
All
worldwide. Like, I've sat in rooms where they talked around me about me and used me as a smiling statue or a poster child to get funding. And my mother has cancer. I can't take care of her. Nobody helps me. I have children. I barely could take care of them. Nobody helps me. There's no paycheck for standing up for your community. So I do this, and now that I've met with Irritated, he's opened up a platform to where I can speak publicly. I've been really kind of in the backgrounds because of the the backlash of releasing those videos. There was no protection when I've been shot. My brother has been shot. At the time, my nephew was 7. He was shot. So, and nobody came to help us. They didn't even investigate. They told me to go home
This is after Mike Brown was murdered.
Brown.
You've been shot, your brother and your nephew's been shot.
Yes, in regards to, I feel as retaliation for releasing those videos, for saying the things that I was saying in regards to how they came into our community and hijacked everything. And when I say they, I'm speaking about CNN, MSNBC, ABC, the Red Cross, Better Family Life. Everybody that was getting the funding that did not help our communities. We are still protesting in Ferguson right now. It's a different body that we are protesting about, but we are still protesting because the system is still broken.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely I'm inspired by what it is that you've shared, in the sense that it's good to know that your approach to what the problem is and what it is that needs to take place is not, we're not looking to the source of the problem to generate a solution, and that the source of our problem benefits from us having this problem. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given it to us. Yeah. And for us to look to them for a source of solution or recovery or repair or remedy, at some point it's schizophrenia. Absolutely. After all of these years, if we're still looking to a system to produce a solution to a problem that they created and benefited from, something's wrong with us.
I've reached a point to where I tell people now, those officers are just doing their job because they're getting away with it too much. So I just feel like I don't know what justice looks like anymore. I don't know how to go about getting justice. Now I'm on empowerment. I'm on education. I can't beat you at your game, so I'm gonna create a new one and see if you can keep up with it.
So in the town of Ferguson, they're still protesting. The protests have taken a different direction. You say
the protests have taken. Now we want answers to who killed our voice, King D. Seals. Who killed King? Darren Seals spoke up for a lot of people, myself included. After losing my home, I lost my family, I didn't feel like a hero. I didn't feel like I made a step forward for my race. I felt like I spoke up and my race turned its back on me and I had to go hide under a rock in shame. Darren spoke up. Darren let me know that I was on the right path. He was like, if you won't do it, I will. I'm only here today because they killed him, because they tried to stop him. I don't do interviews. I don't do things like that, but I will not let them win. If I have to put myself and be a gigantic target, you asked for this target. I'm at DC. I'm in DC right now talking because they killed Darren Seals. He was the voice for our community.
Now, you're in D.C., and you were here doing some other things. Talk about the activity that you've been involved in and what you've come to D.C. to do.
Okay, well, I'm here. I was invited by Double Exposure, which is investigational function for journalism. I'm a citizen journalist. I went from being a person that was angry to I'm a thinker, so I wanted to fight back, and by capturing those videos, I was instantly branded, and people started trying to exploit me. But I've had a sense of self, so I figured if you could do it, I could do it. Who better to tell my story than me? So I continue to speak about my community. I've been working with a young woman to try to put together a documentary. We're in the beginning stages of promoting it and getting things together, and this is just one of those stages where people are, I would say, intrigued by the investigations that I'm working on. Angelo Brown is another person that we lost to the hands of the police back in June of 2016. He was killed by the Belleville Police Department. I'm working on his murder as well as getting answers to what happened to Darren Seals. And in the process of that, I'm doing this documentary, and for me, this is my life. So my goal as a journalist is to show the world what it's like to be a black man through the eyes of a black man. They gave me this platform, and I'm taking full advantage of it, but not the way they want. I walked in. it was intimidating this morning when I
Mm-hmm.
walked into double exposure because, well, when I walked into this press conference, because you have all these people here talking about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting back and I'm like, oh my God, when I get up there and tell them that we need to police our communities, they're not going to really understand where I'm coming from
Mm-hmm.
because they think I'm happy that I'm here right now. I'm here right now because you destroyed my community, you killed my friend, and you keep killing my friends. This is not a joyous occasion. I'm not, you know, to have this platform on another base would be something that I could really sit up and really go in about. But for me, this is all work.
Mm. Work. Well, I again, I appreciate the stand that you're taking, and it's good and it's refreshing to know that you're not taking the position that many people fail or many people do and leads to their failure, and that is that if we keep on pointing our finger at the police, at the judicial system, at the social system, at the government, at the politicians, at the economic system, at the, I could go through a laundry list. If we continue to point the finger and don't at some point conclude that they do not have an interest in our success, they have no desire for us to succeed. In fact, they benefit from our failure. Then if we don't wake up and come to that conclusion, we will continue to see our communities being decimated. It's only at the point that we come together amongst ourselves and we begin to build the infrastructure and support system that, sure, there's going to be a threat, and we just have to learn how to protect it better now. And I think another point in this conversation, we get to maybe doing it within the confines of the United States of America just is not possible. Maybe it's just not possible. And if true freedom and if true, living at peace and living, being able to raise families and be in whole communities, is that truly is our desire, and it's not something that can be created in the United States of America for you and I, then truly, if we're really freedom fighters, if we're really trying to make this thing be right, then we're spinning our heads and we're spinning a storyline that we know in our minds cannot create or will not be created. So again, I'm thankful and honored that you would come here and share the information that you've shared with me. It's unfortunate that your community, your family members, have gone through what it is that you've gone through. But I think I think we're getting to a point where prayerfully we're going to say enough is enough. And I think the enough is enough part that I'm talking about is not enough is enough in that there's enough police brutality, because that's been going on ever since. It's not that it's enough of the, of the misguidance from the media systems that are out there. I think enough is enough of us looking for someone else. It's time for us to do it ourselves. If we're going to do this, or if it's going to get done, there's no one that's going to benefit from it like we would benefit from it. So, again, I'm thankful and thankful to you, Brother Irritated Genie, for bringing Brother Chris here to speak on the work that he's doing and to speak on his experiences since the slaughter, of our brother Mike Brown there in Ferguson, St. Louis. And, I'll give you both an opportunity to share any closing remarks and contact information that you would like to share for our audience. Brother Irritated Genie, we'll start with you.
All right, I appreciate this opportunity. I want everybody to really know this, and I mean this. It's not very often in today's climate that you get to meet a real warrior, meaning somebody who's fearless, who cares about black people, and who puts our race before any of their own interests. And this brother, Chris Seltzer here, I have the honor of actually feeling the honor to say, hey, I can bring this brother forward to people and say, I know this young man.
Mm-hmm.
This young man wasn't trained for this, but life has trained him and put him in a position to make a decision. And he's made the decision to do the right thing. And when we're talking about names of people that we're hearing across the media and across the world of black people who care about black people in this time, this is one of the names. Brother Darren, King D. Seals, Brother Chris Seltzer, and so many others. But I'm just honored to know this young man, and I want brothers and sisters out there to reach out to this brother, get his information and get his story, because that fight that we saw that was happening then, that started in Ferguson as ground zero for black resistance, is still going on. But our brothers and sisters need our help to help them get their word out there, what they're doing. So thank you for the opportunity. Anybody interested in getting in touch with us, you can go to waronthehorizon.com. All our contact information is there. Thank you.
All right, Brother Chris.
Well, I want to thank Irritated for bringing me out. I definitely want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, any platform that I could speak on to my people directly. I greatly appreciate it. Anybody that wants to help or get more information on how to help me in any shape, form, or fashion can reach me at kevinchristopherproductions@gmail.com. It's real simple. I'll say it again because it's kind of long, but it's Kevin Christopher Productions with the S @gmail.com. I respond. I'm linked to it. I'm always tied in. Like, we have to do this ourselves because we've been asking for help for 2 years, and it's not gonna come. We have to look inward. Like, you have to believe in yourself so the children that are around you can believe in themselves so they can make a better future for us.
That's what's up. Couldn't have said it better myself, brother. I appreciate you both for coming on board. Again, you all stay tuned for more great programming here on the Elife Media Network. This is Dr. Baruch signing off on the Not On My Watch show. You all stay tuned.